Hello and welcome to the Decking Awesome podcast. My name is Owen and I'm joined by the awesome Ciara and Brian.
Hello.
Hello.
Today we are breaking down our favourite chaotic board games. These are games that keep players engaged and active throughout the game. We are looking for games that keep players on the edge of their seats as they deal with the chaos the game brings. So let's dive in.
It may be important to point out, and something that's going to become pretty obvious very quickly, we all had very different definitions on what chaotic games were. So, yeah.
Tell us your opinions of what a chaotic game is as you hear our opinions. Because we'd love to know.
Because I'm guessing we're wrong.
Yeah, we wanted to say because we love chaotic games a lot. We play a lot of chaotic games. We all have different ideas of what the best chaotic game is.
Apparently, we all have different ideas of when we're playing chaotic games as well.
This is a strategic game. No, it's not.
That's literally the whole conversation before this podcast has been. No, that's definitely.
How is that on your list?
That's definitely strategic. I definitely remember it being strategic. No, that's just chaos. There's no planning whatsoever.
Just because there's a dice doesn't mean it's chaos. Own.
All right. Okay, so let's jump right in. Our top 5.
I'm going to go with Flux. Now, Flux is a game that I defy anyone to tell me it's not chaotic, because you cannot strategize in Flux. You can be like, I have the goal and I have both the keepers I need. I'm going to win this. And then someone steals your keeper, and then someone changes the goal, and then someone wins the game by someone accidentally putting down a card. There is no way to strategically plan in Flux. Flux is an amazingly fun game. I got quite aggro about it. I'm sorry. I love Flux, but it is impossible to kind of strategize. You just have to keep throwing out keepers and hoping no one throws out like a keeper limit of 2 or something like that just wipes out your whole card stash. And then, or maybe you've built up a really clever, what you think is a strategy, and someone just comes in and boom, all the rules are gone. And that's you completely screwed.
I love it. There's so many different choices you can make in Flux, but also like you can watch the turn order go around the table and the game just dramatically changes, and you just have to keep up with it and be figuring out your choice is going to change as you go along. I like it.
And the order of play can change in one round as well.
Yeah.
And you can get 2 goals in quick succession, or you can get no goals for 2 rounds.
What? Draw 5, play all? Who put those 2 together?
I like the chaos of it, but I do think you can be stuck having to play all of your cards, and you just can't be strategic.
It causes pandemonium, so it's like it should probably be higher on my list. Realistically, I do love Flux, but I've put it down there because it's just so chaotic, and the chaos is never in your hands. It's not like you're creating the chaos. There's just a round of chaos followed by everyone going, "The hell am I going to do?" Followed by another round of chaos.
And there's so many different versions of Flux as well, loads to choose from. So there's a good variety of chaos you can add to your game, whatever kind of team you want. Well, yeah, my number 5 has got to be Escape Curse of the Temple. This one is crazy. What you're doing is everyone has a hand full of dice and they're rolling those dice and they're trying to escape a temple, kind of like Indiana Jones style. Get the gems and then get out of there as the whole temple kind of gets messed around. There is a audio file you can play along with it, which tells you when to do certain things, like you have to go back to certain places. But the chaos is just incredible because you're trying to work together, but also roll dice in real time. So everyone's rolling dice constantly, and then just shouting like, "I need more keys. Oh, I'm stuck. Help me. And then you're trying to figure out where they are on the map and if you can help them, and then you get stuck, and then you're like, it's just chaos.
Yeah, and you get all the right dice and you've made it back and someone's just stuck there not able to roll anymore because they've completely run out of dice. You're like, oh, gotta come back and get you.
Yeah, it's really tricky.
And the speed at which you play is so vital that like you have to play fast. It's not like you can think slowly or work. You can go, I'll roll this and I'll see. If you take more than a second to process the dice that you have in front of you, you're holding up the group.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that. I love that learning curve of it, of just the first time you play Escape. You're not really sure what you're getting yourself into, and you just play your first game and you're like, that's crazy.
I should have a bit of tension in my chest just thinking about playing this game. Yeah. Like, oh, my heart, it hurts.
Yeah, I love it.
My game is Exploding Kittens, which is a controversial choice.
Absolutely not a chaotic game.
So I find it really chaotic. I find like you have very little say in what happens. The cards are dealt. You might get, so everyone starts with like a diffuser and then all the diffusers go. So halfway through the game, there's twice as many bombs or whatever it is, exploding kittens. And there's no diffusers left. And it's just, you might get the card or you might not. You can check other people's cards. That's usually absolutely pointless. You so rarely actually get those. They're all gone by halfway through the game. So it's really pointless. You don't even know what you're looking for. But I find it quite chaotic.
Like, I don't think it's chaotic because I just think it's predetermined. Like, once the cards are dealt, like, it's already over. I know you're going to play cards, you're going to lose cards, the kitten's going to explode in your face, but it's not. There's no even loose strategy to the chaos, and it's just, play a card, all game's over.
I think early game in Exploding Kittens there's a lot more choice. So there is things happening. You're not sure what cards people have, and you're trying to get rid of certain people depending on previous grudges you hold outside of the game. But later on at the end game, the game is just trying to wrap itself up, and you kind of know what's going to happen. You can kind of see the path before you, and everything's kind of predetermined on what your actions are. But early game and kind of going into mid game, you can definitely feel like there's useful choices to be made, and it is pretty chaotic. Yeah,
and I think that the deck is it's random in that you can't control the deck. The deck may be predetermined, but you whatever happens. You just have to go with it.
And it does keep players engaged, I suppose. People are always kind of focused on it, and they're kind of reacting to what people play and how they play it, but it's tricky.
It's controversial, and yet a lot of people will willingly sit down and play a game of Exploding Kittens.
That's true. I would
that wouldn't play anything else. So I like it.
I do quite enjoy a game of Exploding Kittens.
Yeah, I like it.
It's mixed, but it's
also I like
5 on my list.
I like it because if I lose, I can just go, oh well, it's just how the cards were dealt. Wasn't that? And I did.
All right, number 4.
I am going to put in Cult Express here.
Which I disagree with.
Disagree with my placement? You think it should be higher. You're right. It is a really good game. I'm going to bump it up the list. Cult Express is a great game because it's for anyone who hasn't played it, it's like a programming game where you play cards to determine where your guys move around a train. You're trying to steal money, and you're trying to fight with other robbers on the train. You're climbing up onto the roof, and you're climbing back down. You're moving around carriages. It's brilliant, but you occasionally play cards face down, so no one else knows what your character is going to do. So you're trying to run and grab some diamonds or something like that and get a bit of money from them, and all of a sudden someone's shot you. You're in a different carriage, and now someone else has gotten the diamond, and you weren't expecting them. You thought they were somewhere else. And I just think it's such a brilliant, chaotic game because you plan out exactly what your character is going to do. So you know what your character is going to do, and after that it is just bedlam. Because you're like, okay, I'm going to go up on the roof, I'm going to run across here, I'm going to jump down, I'm going to grab the diamond, I'm going to have the money, and then I'm going to run away before anyone gets to me. And then all of a sudden there's just, you're shot 3 times because you went up on the roof, and now you've got a load of dead cards in your hand, and then you're trying to jump down and someone's punching you into another room, and it is just chaos incarnate.
But it's played out in logical steps. That's what my problem is with it being on the list is like it's played out step by step in a very systematic, clean way. There are rules that have to be followed, and each step has to happen the way it has to happen.
I think, the chaos comes in the fact that you don't know what cards are going to come out, right? You don't, it's someone else's pre-programmed list of things is chaotic to you as a player because you have no idea what they're going to play, right? Are they going to play a sheriff, move the sheriff around,
That's true, but as soon as that happens, it resolves itself. It's not like there's no option. It's done. It's set in
after
stone.
the action happens, it's not anything could happen.
Yeah.
Well, the same is said about any game, anything, any life. Time is unfortunately still linear, despite what COVID may have made us think. Is it Tuesday? Is it February? Who knows? Actually, is it? No, it's not. Okay, we're good.
It's close. It's close to February. Is it still fun to lose Cult Express? So when you pre-programmed in a whole bunch of things and your plan doesn't work because of the chaos, I'm putting it in air quotes because Kira doesn't disagree that it's chaos.
No, I said my thing. I'm good.
Air quotes are hard to do on a podcast.
You just say it.
Just say air quotes.
He did them as a matter of fact.
Yeah, there were hand movements, yes.
But yeah, is it still fun to lose? Because I think that's the key to keeping players engaged in a chaotic game is if they don't mind losing.
I have Cult Express is one of my. It's a game I love going to. It's hard to find people willing to play it with me, but I love Cult Express. I don't think I've ever won. I think I've ever won playing Celtic Stuff. Maybe once, but
you're a very aggressive player though. Like you'll always try and get that goal that everyone's trying to go for straight away.
I think I'm just very predictable. The briefcase.
Yeah. You're so predictable.
It's worth, if you get the briefcase, you win the game. That's just how it works. It's worth so much
everybody
money.
sees you doing that, so they all can try and attack you.
And I believe in the only game where you did get the briefcase, you didn't win because somebody else got more gems because they were just getting the gems.
Yeah, I got so distracted with getting the briefcase that it was all I got. I think I got the briefcase, someone stole it off me, and then I dedicated the rest of my game to getting it back off them, while everyone else just gathered all the money on the train.
Yeah. Well, there's 2 briefcases in that scenario because there's enough players for 2.
Okay.
And so they went for the other one. And then obviously everyone just attacked Brian because he's predictable, not chaotic. So if you want to be good at these chaotic games, you got to be chaotic yourself. It's got to come from the heart, you know?
Maybe that's why I enjoy it, because everyone else is chaotic. And I just play out with the tedious inevitability.
Yeah, it's like playing blackjack without looking at your hand, you know?
Hit me.
That's chaos.
You're already on 25, sir. I said hit me.
I'm not looking at my cards. Who knows what I'm on? My number 4 has got to be Roll for the Galaxy. A little bit controversial. There's a lot of strategy in Roll for the Galaxy, but it comes from the point of rolling the dice, you know? And so when people think about chaotic games, they tend to think about dice. Obviously, the games we've talked about, a lot of them don't have dice. But this one is really, really fun because it keeps players engaged. Every round, they feel like they're going to roll the dice they need to roll to get their system going, to keep these planets in check. Because sometimes if they don't roll well, all your economy is ruined.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than you getting such a really good roll and you're so happy with yourself, and then someone doesn't activate a phase that you need, and you're like, oh, I wasted like 6 dice on that.
Yeah, especially the ship and trade. Cool. And you're looking around the table and you're trying to think, who's going to pick trade and who's going to pick ship, and then you put in ship, hoping someone else pick trade, and then no one did either. They're all doing move and something else. They're not doing that. It's like,
I like that when you're looking around, like everyone has resource, and you're like, okay, I know exactly what everyone's going to do, and then everyone assumes everyone else is going to activate the phase, and no one does, because they're all just thinking other people are going to, and you're all just looking at each other going,
we've all lost dice in this round.
Yeah. When it looks like everyone's going to trade, there's a good chance no one's going to pick trade. You need a couple of, because that's a cool thing about chaotic games as well, is it's about the players you put down the table, you know? If you have too many chaotic players playing a chaotic game, it's crazy. But if you get very strategic players playing a chaotic game, it can work. And so Roll for the Galaxy works in both those ways, you know?
You need somebody to play it safe, because if you don't have anyone playing it safe, no one is going to pick the right things.
No, exactly.
It'll be everyone's end phase will have worked, but the start phase where you actually have to like gather the tokens, everyone will just assume somebody's going to do that because that has to happen, and no one will do it. My chaotic game number 4 would be Jungle Speed. I think it's just very tense, and then the eruption of gameplay as the match happens, and everyone diving for that token, and hands going everywhere, and people trying to duck under and duck over. I think there's quite a physical chaos to that game, and weaving and dodging. There's actual physical weaving and dodging. You know, because you're trying to get your little hand in under or over other people. I like it.
Kira has to cut her nails before we play.
Yeah, that's been around since I was in college.
Kira doesn't stop just because there's their hands in the way.
With Manga, that game, that was also a game where you had to grab things from the center. I also had to cut my nails for that one. It's been a rule for a long time.
Jungle Speed, though, phenomenal choice. It's a really good, fun, chaotic game. And it's so simple to pick up. It's just like, can you recognize 2 shapes being the same? Boom, chaos.
That said, it's hilarious when people accidentally dive for it when it's not 2 of the same shapes. Because it's like that thread with the wiggles in it.
Oh, yeah.
You miscount those wiggles. It's all over the place.
My problem with dexterity games, I always find, is the skill involved, you know? So if you can get better at the game, I think it loses a lot of its power, you know? So like, you know, certain dexterity games, if you're really good at flicking, no one wants to play with you because you're just going to beat them every time. Whereas, I don't know about Jungle Speed. How do you feel about Jungle Speed? Can you get better at Jungle Speed? Or is this, will there always be that sense of you've always got a chance?
I think you can. You probably can. In those little apps where you have to like press a button really fast. You train yourself on little apps.
I know it's been 2 years since we've been allowed to see other people, but there are games where, you know, you can interact with people physically. It's not all app based anymore. Pandemic's over, people. Congratulations.
I did play Jungle Speed there once mid pandemic closure stuff, and yeah, the person did win every single time.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. They're very good at pattern matching, and then also incredibly fast. It doesn't help that a lot of people were very drunk.
Just the one sober guy in the room kicking her ass.
Yeah, she had been drinking too, but I don't know if she was either better at keeping it or she was just really fast.
I don't know. I think it's a game you can maybe get better at, but I think largely like if you are good at pattern recognition or you have a very fast reflex, then you're definitely going to have an advantage in the game. Yeah. But like the same if you're good at probabilities, you're going to have advantage in kind of strategic games or stuff like that. Like I think it is a game that will favor some people and not others, but I think even if you're not great at it, there's sometimes we've played Jungle Speed and like there's been a match on the table for like an entire round and no one's noticed, and someone just kind of casually leans over and picks the thing up and they're like, that's that's a match, right? Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah. So like sometimes you can be as good at a game as you want and still be crap at it.
Yeah, it's one of the best things about Jungle Speed is the matching. Okay, so number 3.
So my number 3 is King of Tokyo, a game I love that is more chaos than planning. I think the low health combined with the 5 dice, I think is where the chaos comes from. Like 10 health points and 5 dice means that technically it takes 2 rounds to kill you. Like if you had a really good hand of dice, 2 rounds, that means that you can only last twice in Tokyo. Like if you were to play it strategically, you'd never go into Tokyo and you'd never come out of Tokyo and you'd never win because you can't kill anyone. It is a game you have to play chaotically. You just have to go, may the dice gods be in my favor, and jump in.
Close your eyes and run in screaming, hoping for the best.
Yeah, and I think that's where its chaos comes from. I think it's an interesting balance, because if you were really thinking about the game, you go, well, that's too low a health to make this work, because you max at 10, right? So even if you rolled loads of hearts, you can't get over 10. I know there's some like cards and things that give you, there's extra stuff, but really I think that designers made an active choice for it to be 10 and for there to be 5 dice, and I think that I think is where that panic decision, you're like, I'm losing, I'll go in Tokyo, have 6 health, that's loads, and then 2 people get 2 good rounds in and you're like, I'm dead. Well, I tried.
Yeah, even the best laid plans in Tokyo or in King of Tokyo are just bedlam. You max out your health. You're like, I'm going in. I'm getting my points. I'm going to survive 1 round. No, I'm immediately back out. This was a terrible idea. What was I thinking?
Yeah, I love the chaotic element. I think it helps the different types of players, because I always find it difficult to find board games for all of us, because we have very strategically minded people and then we have very chaotic people. I am a chaotic person. And when someone
Can there be more dice? Might as well be just Owen playing any board game.
So when it comes to something like, oh, you can roll 3 of the same number and you get points for it, in my head, I go, well, I'm never going to do that. And even if I did roll 3 dice, I'd re-roll them immediately. So that's not how I want to win. So I always find them incredibly fun in the fact that like someone has loads and loads of points, victory points, but they haven't gone into Tokyo yet. And then you just roll into Tokyo and you've bought like all the cards to make your guy really strong, really does a whole bunch of damage. You go in, you kill everybody, and you're on 0 points. You've won the game. And it's like, that's how I feel. Is just, it adds the chaos, because if the people playing are chaotic, other people can see, I got to watch out for this turn to see what this person does, because they're going to just, throw the table upside down, because who knows what's going to happen after this round. So it really helps with those kind of personalities. Yeah.
I'm going to throw in a kind of controversial choice here, because the game can be quite strategic. I'm going to put in Santorini as my chaotic one, because if you play the base game itself without the god powers, it is very strategic. It's moving and trying to plan your way to get up onto the top of the tower and trying to orchestrate it in a way that someone's not going to box you in or get your player trapped or, cap the building before you get there, kind of thing. However, when you add in the god powers, this game is anarchy. Like, particularly playing with Owen, when he gets Atlas, he just walks around throwing caps all over the board. There's no building anywhere with Owen. He'll just box you in with a little row of things and then just casually build a building over in the corner. It's one thing when everyone has the same goal and that you're trying to just get up on top of the buildings. Great, you can kind of plan for it, you can predict it. But when someone wins by climbing up 2 buildings and just falling off, you're like, how am I supposed to stop this? Do I have to run around placing buildings underneath them so they can only fall 1 level? This is madness.
And you're running around while being chased by a man capping everything.
We house rule Owen's not allowed to play Atlas.
Yeah, because now we do random god powers.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get them anyway.
Sometimes you do get them anyway, and then it's chaos.
It's fun. It's fun. Because I think there's two. There's Atlas and someone else who just puts down the little tops. I can't remember who the other person is.
There's a female god, isn't there, as well? But her rule is slightly different.
Yeah, she can't just throw out random ones. If she goes like up, she can put one lower or something like that.
Yeah.
I think the randomness of Santorini keeps players engaged, and it keeps them on their toes to what the kind of chaos is. There's a lot of times in Santorini though that there is no randomness. It's almost like, oh, I know exactly what that person's going to do next round. They have to do it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, so I'd say like 1 every 3 turns is like a chaotic, where you get a chance to kind of shine.
Yeah.
Where you're like, you've got a couple of different options here. Are you going to go into the corner and build yourself? Are you going to go outside trying to beat the other person? And so there is those times, I feel like, that are chaotic. Yeah, I think it still keeps people engaged.
Yeah. Because I think even when you think you have a good strategy to win and you think you're like 3 or 4 turns away, someone will come out of nowhere and they'll like, if they build like 2 buildings beside each other, they win or something like that. And you're like, how you can't, trying to remember all the rules and everything like that is just, it's insane.
Yeah. My number 3 is Dice Forge. I love this game. We play it a lot actually, and it's obviously a game where you kind of customize your dice that you have. You've got 2 dice, and you can add different faces to them and kind of upgrade, and that's what you're kind of upgrading as your economy. A lot of it is kind of procedural. There's a lot of like strategic choices you can make where there is no randomness, like the cards you pick and stuff like that. But I feel like because your dice are rolled so much, and you can add in chaos yourself, so it's really a game of your own personality. You can choose to kind of make it as procedural and less chaotic as you want and try and give yourself that advantage. But the people who win in this game tend to be the ones that go chaotic, and they go like, I want to have a multiplier by 3 here. I want to have like a 4 thing over here, 4 victory points. And I'm just going to hope I roll it. Those people tend to win because it's just like luck, and you can add your chaos yourself. So if you're a chaotic player, it is a great game just to kind of add that chaos.
I think Dice Forge it's probably the least chaotic game that we have on our list. It's a game where you're rolling dice and it's inherently chaotic, but the whole point of the game is that you make the dice exactly how you want them so that it's less chaotic. The entire point of Dice Forge is to reduce the chaos.
Yeah, you can reduce the chaos, or you cannot reduce the chaos. That's another option. There's sides of the face where you get to pick someone else's side of their face that they rolled. And there's like all these kind of things are happening where you're like, anything could happen. When I roll these dice, who knows?
You're playing a game that's entirely out of control, but it's not chaotic.
But I think
that is chaos.
You've said it like, oh yeah, and that's how you win. You get it chaotic. You haven't always won with that strategy.
I don't know. I feel like I win a lot.
You either win
Brian
by 50.
wins.
You either win by 50 points or you lose disastrously.
Yeah,
And the lose disastrously happens a lot more.
like
Yeah,
I think
that's
I've
true.
won it. I probably only won it in person rather than online, I think. And Brian's definitely won it sometimes.
Mm.
So like, it seems like all strategies tend to work sometimes.
Like, I grant you, the dice definitely are great for chaos because you can put in that 3 multiplier and then have an entire dice of, resources, and you're like, this is great. I'm going to really clean up, and then just never roll the 3 multiplier once in the whole game, like last time. Fucking absolute ridiculous.
And when it comes around to your turn, you're not really sure how many blue or red you're going to get.
That's true.
And so you end up having a choice of cards you can buy, and those cards affect what's going to happen in the future. So the card choices on the tableau are quite different. So there's ones for like re-rolling your own dice. There's ones for rolling other people's dice and getting their resources. There are ones that are just straight up victory points. And so they're all guesses into the future of how the game is going to go. Do you want to be more, I'm just going to hedge my bets, just get the safe option? Or do you just want to go wild?
Yeah.
And I like that.
No, I'm sticking with the opposite of chaos game.
All right. Number 2.
My number 2 is Mansions of Madness. I don't think anyone can say it's not chaotic. I know Brian is shaking his head right now.
No, I'm shaking my head at how I'm just thinking about how ridiculously this game runs out of hand very quickly.
Yeah. It seems really strategic at the start, right? It lures you in with a strategy. Okay, I'll search the mansion. I'll find the bad guys. I'll discover the underlying evil plot. I'll kick ass. And then at some point, the game flips to being in favor of the bad guys.
There's 50 bad guys.
They exponentially grow on the board until like one time we were playing, it must have been an early enough one. Maybe it was the second scenario.
Where there's just like a horde of them chasing
running
around outside.
The edge of the building, like in a square, around and around.
Yeah.
And it was mental. Like if you in any way got in their way, you were dead. It was just like a game of tag, but like murder tag. So I think it feels so strategic as in either, I don't know, is it the early games or the early part of each game? But I definitely felt like I had control, and then you've either got it or you haven't, and then it's just, who knows, maybe you'll randomly win, maybe you won't. I like how the chaos though is actually the mechanic for bringing in the sense of urgency in the game. Like it's actually using the chaos that comes onto the board for its advantage to go, this is our countdown mechanism.
Yeah, I love Manchester Madness. And when we played it, I'm just worried that is it fun to lose Manchester Madness? Because I feel like sometimes when we lose, we feel a little bit hard done by, and we want to do it again.
We
to
don't
finish
play
it.
games for months.
Yeah. So I don't know if it is fun to lose when the game is like, oh, you went through door B. You should have went through door A. And that was your like thing, you know?
I agree with you. It's chaotic. It's chaotic in a, like, it's not running out of hand kind of chaos. Like it's just, you can't plan for it and you're scrambling to even stay vaguely in control of the game. Like I think it's that kind of chaos. Like you can, on your turn, you can take time to think about what you're going to do. Like you're not frantically throwing stuff at the board. You're not rushed rolling dice trying to survive. Like you can go, okay, well, this is all going to be a problem very soon. So how can we try and get around it? You can think about it. So I think there's an element of planning and strategy to it, but you're just trying to plan and strategize around the chaos that the game is throwing at you. It's one of these, if you haven't played Mansion of Madness, it's like a players versus the game kind of thing, where it spawns monsters and it determines what the monsters do to kind of come at you rather than you playing against each other. But I think it's a really, really fun game, but it's chaotic in that it ramps up out of hand so fast.
The only time I disagree with that is that sometimes you go crazy and you go against your teammates, and then your go is chaotic because you're trying to do something and not necessarily have them find out that you're not any more on their side.
I love that mechanism though, because you can still, like, depending on what kind of insanity you get, you might still be with your team. It might just go, yeah, everything's normal, continue as you are. And the others might be like, yeah, just go kill your team.
Yeah, it's really tricky.
Yeah.
My number 2 has got to be Sheriff of Nottingham. It's a social deduction game where you are the Sheriff of Nottingham and all the other players have to get goods through you. And they can either do that through bribery or, usually they'll be like, oh, I've got like 6 apples in my cart. And then you check their cart and there's crossbows in there and they're illegal. And so, it's whether you open up the cart or not. It's chaotic. Now that sounds very procedural in the fact that everyone gets a choice and they can do whatever they want. But
okay, that's good. You made my point. Thank you. Save me that one.
But I think it's very chaotic because it's keeping everyone engaged in the game because everyone is wondering about the sheriff and is he in the mood for opening up those carts, or what's a bribery like? And it's very much a game of chaos in other people's opinions, because when you play around, you're not really sure, can you get away with stuff? What can you get away with? And it's all about your own facial expression. You might not consider that chaos, but I feel like it's not like, it's like kind of rolling the dice with everyone else's kind of choices, And so you're constantly trying to figure out the sheriff. Is he, what's he gonna do? How much can I get away with? I just love that.
I find it's more of a nuanced chaos, or it's a component that's chaotic within the game, but the game itself doesn't have that same vibe. So that's why I don't really put it in the chaos section in my own head, because I feel like, as you said, there's so many procedural elements that the chaos exists just in parts of it to make it interesting, to bring about those forced decisions, to have people overthink, and to those sorts of things are brought in by that element. It feels almost like it's just an element in the game rather than the game.
And I feel like a large part of the chaos that you describe comes from you playing as a sheriff and immediately screwing everyone over. And then they go, well, I'm getting him when I'm the sheriff. And then you're stuck dealing with the consequences of your own actions.
Yeah. I think as a chaotic player, you'd want games that allow you to be chaotic. And Sheriff Nottingham, I feel like, does that. Now, obviously, there are times when the game itself brings about the chaos. So like, you might always be trying to get crossbows through, and then you pick up a whole bunch of cards and they're all apples. And you're like, all right, we'll put 8 apples through, and you tell the sheriff 8 apples. And then the sheriff's like, is there crossbows in here? And you go, yeah. And then he opens it and there's no crossbows. Like that kind of stuff is chaos because the game forced you not to put crossbows in.
I feel like that's social deception games. That's the whole point of it, that you're trying to trick other people. But I don't think it's chaotic. I think it's just manipulating your friends and hoping they still like you afterwards.
Yeah, well, I don't know. To me, where you make a choice and you're not sure of the results, and then depends on what happens is kind of chaos. So like, in that case, you put in 6 apples, and then it's a kind of chaotic game as to whether you're going to get those 6 apples through. I think obviously social deception is not rolling a dice, but that's what I feel like those kind of things relate.
Yeah. I think if you want to talk chaos, you have to throw in Pictomania. If anyone hasn't heard of Pictomania, it is an amazing game. It is basically Pictionary, but multiplayer, where everyone is the guesser and the drawer, and everyone hates each other, and there's so much speed and yelling and everything. And it's just such a ludicrously fast-paced, ridiculous game. Everyone gets something they have to draw, but they also have to guess what everyone else is drawing at the same time. And you have a list of what things people could be drawing. So you have to try and finish your drawing, but also guess what other people are drawing and try to do it the quickest, so you get extra bonus points. So like, do you sacrifice the quality of your drawing and lose points because people don't guess it, but hope that you're quicker at guessing what they're drawing? Or do you focus on having a really nice drawing and get points because everyone guesses yours correctly, but you're slow to guess what everyone else's is, so you lose out on points there? It is just so fast paced for a game that is just, it is so simple in its essence, but it's ludicrous. And like the fact that you might have to draw, like the start, you're like, okay, apple, towel, banana, bike. But by the last round, you're draw a sense of ennui, but only in a Frenchman and only on a Tuesday. And you're like, how am I supposed to draw this? Why is everyone already drawing? Oh my God.
I will say, there is no shouting that's supposed to be in the game. That shouting that you're hearing is you shouting, what the hell is that? All the time.
The shouting happens afterwards when someone is saying, that's very clearly an ennuied Frenchman on a Tuesday. And you're like, it's definitely a bicycle that you've drawn.
I think a lot of chaos comes from people first playing Pictomania as well. It's a great game for new players because they pick it up and, they've never tried to do a speed drawing game before, and it is an awesome intro into the kind of mechanic.
Yeah.
Kind of like charades, but times 10.
Yeah.
Really difficult. The problem I have is that you can get better at that. You can get better at Pictomania. After a while, people can kind of smudge the rules a little bit so that they can always get like the quickest drawing. They do a drawing just well enough that one person gets a guess in that's correct, and then they guess correct on everybody else's, and then they're out. And that can be tricky. It depends on what the spirit of the game is. If the spirit of the game is just having fun and a bit of crack, it's good.
Yeah, I suppose you can kind of fudge the play a bit. You can, but at the same time, like if you're just in the game to win it and not have any friends, I mean.
Yeah. I love
Should
the chaos.
You be playing?
Yeah. The chaos aspect of it is really cool, though. Yeah.
It's just like, it's chaotic in its pace and just the frantic nature with which you're doing everything. You're still trying to draw your own picture while you're standing up, looking at the end of the table, trying to figure out, what the hell is that guy drawing? It's like, okay, well, I know it can't be this one. Oh, maybe it's this one. Oh, no, shit, I have to guess. And everyone else has already thrown in some guesses. And you're like, hurry up, quick. And it's just insanity.
And it's fun when some people do it to think the game rules wrong and stuff like that. And you're like, there's a whole bunch of fruit they have to draw, and then one person's drawn a horse, and you're like, what is that? What's going on?
Like, either you're not getting the game or
it's chaos. It's pure chaos.
All right, hit us up with our number ones.
My number one has got to be Dice Summoners. I think it's an awesome chaotic game. It's our game. Loads of dice, lots of cards. And so when you're playing it, there's always kind of this engagement as to when it's your go. I have a kind of a strategy in my mind. I want to roll a bunch of dice, and then I want to try and figure out if I can get it done. And then as you're trying to set up your defenses for the other person attacking you, you get a little bit of chaos in there as to kind of guess as to where they're going to go with their move. So yeah, it's kind of got both aspects of it that kind of other trading card games don't have.
I feel like it starts off more chaotic, and the idea is you're trying to wrangle the chaos a little bit. So you're trying to make sure that you have things to do with the dice no matter what they do. And you can't get that perfectly because it's dice and they'll just do whatever they want. But you can try and have more stuff that matches. I think that kind of harnessing works really well.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it's a great game that, you know, it lets you have a bit of fun with chaos where you don't know what's going to show up on the dice, but you're hoping it's exactly what you're planning. You're like, okay, I'm going to throw up a bit of defense. I'm going to attack them. I'm going to get a new spell. I'm going to attack them with that. And I'm going to do the perfect amount of damage. And then you roll none of the symbols. And you're like, okay, now what do I do?
Yeah, I really like it. Yeah.
I too am going to selfishly throw in one of our own games here as number one. Just, you know, pat ourselves on the back. Bumper Bots, hopefully out later this year. Today, stay tuned. I have to finish making it. But Bumper Bots is it's a worker placement game where you don't really have control over the workers. You're sending them off to go and gather resources, but you're rolling a dice to determine if they basically heard you properly. So you're saying, go gather some of those gold resources over there, and they land and go, yep, gotcha. I'll go get some red resources. Let's go. You're like, no, come back. And then you're scrambling, trying to figure it out. And then you think, okay, I've got the resources. This is good. They heard me. And then someone else comes along and just bumps you out of the way with their bot who's just aimlessly wandering around the board.
Yeah, I love the player engagement in Bumper Bots in the fact that, you know, if you have like 4 or 5 players with these big strategic games, it can be like almost waiting for your go to be done. But in Bumper Bots, there is that element of, am I going to get bumped somewhere? Like, am I in a really good spot for someone to bump me? And then kind of different abilities and stuff like that kind of activating on their go. And so it keeps players engaged, but it's also got the chaos of the rolling the dice to where the things go. And so there's always this kind of element that people want to see what happens, you know?
Yeah, I like the Vortex Storm adds a nice bit of chaos because the board changes each round.
Yeah.
So you have that kind of nice bit of variety of like, I'm going to bump this person somewhere. And then it all goes, you somehow get swept into the Vortex Storm and swirled up in a ball. And then there's like a whole different set of actions available to you when you get like Vortex tokens. It's good. There's a nice balance of it in there.
Yeah. It's not just a purely strategic game. I love that chaos aspect to it.
Yeah.
If you're a chaotic player or you're a strategic player, you'll have those options available to kind of mess with people if you want to go down that road, or to kind of, you know, do your own thing, you know.
So I actually haven't made a chaotic game.
Boo.
My number one chaotic game is Magic Maze, which seems like it shouldn't be a chaotic game. So it's a game of no talking, and you're in a maze, and you are playing with, I think it's just a varied amount of people, but up to 4 players.
I think you can play with like 4, 5, 6 maybe.
But the idea is that you can't tell anyone else what to do, and you can't talk, and except for at random intervals. And then each person can do one action to any character. So, it can be up to 6. Yeah.
But they can move them in directions.
Yeah. So you might have left, and you can only move in left. So you're relying on everyone else to move forward, back, and right. And everyone has to know what the plan is. So you want to get in, get the gems, and get out. And everyone has to be on the same page. There's always somebody who thinks they know better. And there's always like somebody who's just moseying along, wondering about what's happening and going, oh, might turn this person right. And even the fight are chaotic because like maybe right and left are fighting and they just keep moving one dwarf
back and forward,
right and left constantly, and he's getting nowhere.
My absolute favorite part about Magic Maze is the do something piece. So because you can't communicate with each other, they've given you like a pawn that you can put in front of players when you're trying to tell them you need to do something, but you haven't seen what it is yet. Like maybe you need to move, maybe you're the only one who can move right, and there's a pawn stuck who needs to move right, and the player just hasn't seen it. So you can just get this piece and put it in front of them. And like, you're sitting there going, okay, I'm totally in control of this. And then someone puts the do something piece in front of you and you're like, oh, what have I not seen? What am I missing? And then like, you're sitting there going, okay, I'm thinking about it. And the person's just banging the piece on the table in front of you. It's like, I know I can't tell you need to move, but you need to move. It's also a beautifully passive aggressive move too. Like if you're playing another game and someone's taking their sweet ass time with analysis paralysis, if you just walk into a different room, open up Magic Maze, take out the do something piece and just come in and put it in front of them.
That is super passive aggressive.
I've never thought of that, but yeah, you could do that. You could do that. You shouldn't do that, though. I don't think.
That falls into the maybe not keep your friends around for.
Yeah, because in real life we can talk. We can explore our emotions.
Oh no, Magic Maze. Magic Maze is a game that shouldn't be chaotic. It should just be you guys moving pieces around the board in a coordinated, controlled fashion. And yet it's madness. Like sometimes you just get a pawn walking around in circles because everyone thinks they're supposed to move them.
Or they think something else is supposed to be happening. They're like, oh no, I have to go through this door because I can't go through the other door.
Yeah.
And everyone else is like, no, you can go through that door. But obviously you can't discuss that. So everyone does it by walking the pawn up to one door and then up to the other door and then back to the other door.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, trying to figure out what someone's plan is as they move things around. And you're like, okay, I have to figure this out. I have to kind of interpret what they're doing. It's very cool. Very kind of chaotic. I like it. I think that pretty much wraps it up for our top 15 chaotic games. Follow us on social media to help us out. We've been decking awesome games. Thanks for listening. See ya.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.